Day 50, working on the cure for the Terminators.
One of my primary mission objectives is to create what's called a Magneto Speeder.
The Magneto Speeder is a necessary technology that I need for the Flashpoint event, or at least a precursor variant. I need some sort of eVTOL, some sort of vertical takeoff and landing vehicle, something that runs on electrogravitic technology, something very capable of getting someone in and out real fast. A couple of us, actually. An exfiltration vehicle of some kind. She's gonna need it for what she does. So I started taking a look into the Thunderstorm generator, because I need something that's going to be able to transform basically like muck water from the ocean, unpolluted, transform it into hydrogen and oxygen so that it can be used in some sort of very sophisticated fuel generation capacity. This is a precursor technology that I'm going to learn how to use and build that'll be able to make it so I can run a combustion engine on hydrogen and oxygen. Ultimately, the goal is to make it run on hydrogen thrusters. So I'm decomposing it and just kind of working out all the different parts. Because of my recent study into electrogravitics, I realized that these plasmoids are gripping space-time because of how they're engineered. And so these are actually excellent objects to be used as propellant for a propulsion system. And this thing right here makes them, and this thing right here prepares them for this is the actual Thunderstorm generator, and this would be very useful for creating the fuel source necessary to output to not a combustion engine, but to a hydrogen thruster. Or in this case, it would be a plasmoid thruster. I started work on a page for the Magneto Speeder, and now I'm going to start doing a lot more actual investigations in how to build the very specific componentry required to get this working. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of parts. I expect eventually I'm going to need to create some sort of nuclear fusion system that gives it enough power and oomph. So it's not just hydrogen, but it's all sorts of propulsion systems that I need. One of the things I really need to get is what's called plasmoid technology. Plasmoid thrusters, plasmoid generators, everything. So I need to learn all of these different types of formulas and mathematics that go into it. So these formulas are actually just like tip of the iceberg stuff. So you're getting to plasma dynamics, really starting to understand here what I'm dealing with, what kind of things are necessary. A lot of this stuff is very simple, to be honest. I'm kind of surprised. This used to be so out of scope. Now these are just simple concepts for me. It's kind of fun. It's kind of fun getting to this point. I also started working on the Fusion Girl website. It's basically talking about Jane and trying to write down the story in a public setting. It was really fun finally finishing up this project. This is like the second run that I actually got there. Oh, they're so cute. The whole idea here is to just kind of map out what I'm doing in a video game setting from a video game perspective, so it's easy to consume for regular people. But not only is it easy to consume for regular people, it helps me because I can then transcode all of these concepts from science fiction into reality, which is exactly what this project is. The Thunderstorm generator was shown on a bunch of shows. It's a real thing. So as you can see from here, this is I'm basically just copying it on the whiteboard just to understand and draw it out so I can memorize the whole thing. Most of this is pretty straightforward and simple. Some of this documentation, these parts, like for example, I really appreciate the simplicity of the explanation of how the tech works here. But like as it gets to the bottom, it starts talking about stuff that gets a little out of scope. I mean, it's making sense, but then all of a sudden, so it's towards the bottom, it starts doing this stuff, and I don't even know where they're going with this. There's no explanations. I'm sure there's documentation somewhere about what they're talking about with these, how the plasmoids are harmonically generating for elemental alchemy, I suppose. And they're talking about these not just formulas, but like harmonic geometry. And then there's like these components. Look at this. What is he even building? Some sort of thruster? A scavenger? Charge distributor. It's almost unclear exactly what this thing's supposed to do, but I imagine it's a propulsion drive. So I also created a Thunderstorm generator page. So I'm just trying to figure out exactly what's necessary in order to understand everything about the basic sciences about it, how to even program parts of this in a simulation if I have to. Just doing everything I need in order to really understand this technology. And not just understand the technology, but how can I upgrade it? What can I do to make new versions of the tech, augment it, like how can I apply it for nuclear fusion? How can I get this working for more, how can I increase its efficiency? All of the potential parts that are necessary, really getting into the more expansive possibilities for what formulas are while also training in them. And that's part of this whole goal. The whole goal for me is to learn how to do all of these different formulas so I'm just fluent with it all. So that's another aspect to this entire, I mean, look at this thing. Look at this thing. Look at this formula. Wow. I just look at that. That's great. I'm excited to be able to read that whole thing. So, a lot more exciting work to come. That's another good one. Look at that. I'm gonna have to do better with just kind of keeping up to date on a day-to-day basis, posting more often, just little posts here and there instead of not posting for a couple days. I'm supposed to be consistent, so I'm gonna be consistent. One of the big things I wanted to start talking about is this Nexus event. There's supposed to be some sort of Nexus event coming up. It's unclear exactly when. People always guessing, people always saying, ooh, it's coming up tomorrow, it's 2024, it's like, whatever, guys. It could be the eclipse in April in 2024. That might be the Nexus event. But somehow I don't think so. We'll find out. In the meantime, one of the things I really need to work on is some sort of proof of concept in order to prove that the Magneto Speeder technology is possible, is real. And that means I need something electrogravitic. I need something that proves that electrogravitic's technology is real. And that's why I need to learn all of that math. Part of the project also includes figuring out exactly how to create a more advanced plasmoid generator. Turns out the plasmoid generators that they were using in the Thunderstorm generator, the Bendal engine, it's just a bubbler. It's like it's just like a chamber, a pressurized chamber with a diffuser, and it's just regular tap water. And they're taking a mix of air from an inlet and protium enriched. It's basically protium enriched air. They're taking this hydrogen and this air. They're ionizing it in this chamber, just using an ultraviolet light. And then that ionized air, the ionized protium-enriched air, goes through into the bubbler. The bubbler creates these kind of popping bubbles, which collapse. These collapsing bubbles generate plasmoids through the process of a singularity instance every time a bubble bursts or collapses, rather. Those plasmoids then go through and then they go into this Thunderstorm generator, which then, I guess it's basically a quantum supercharger. So it's like a supercharger in a car, but instead of supercharging the intake, instead of supercharging the intake, it's supercharging the actual particles themselves. And by doing this, it creates a very rich here, there's a picture. Yeah, this is how it does it. This is the plasmoid, and it basically it splits apart hydrocarbons and turns them into hydrogen and oxygen, which burns better in a combustion engine. Really cool stuff. But you can also use this in a hydrogen thruster as well. Very useful. Got a lot more work to do.